a lot of guys, Case and Henry, you're looking for a big year. And, because I feel like in the Shane Beamer era, this is probably arguably the most, guys you've had returning on this offensive line, or at least cohesive unit-wise and playing together sake. So you can only really kind of go up from here is how I feel about it, at least. And I put my belief that, and this is assuming Case Henry's the right tackle. That's not a guarantee. There is debate on a battle going on there with somebody like him and Tree. But if you had both of your tackles returning from last year, there's respective spots. I put a lot of value on the experience you had. Because, again, Case Henry was hurt for his first couple years at Carolina. He did not really get an opportunity to play a lot. So last year was almost a pseudo-freshman season for him, alongside Josiah Thompson on the other side. And we've seen so many great tackles. And, again, tackle's a hard spot to play. Make that jump from year one to year two. Caden Proctor, the perfect example of that at Alabama. And now he's regarded as one of the best left tackles in the game after struggling as a true freshman. And I'm hoping we see the same thing with both Josiah Thompson and Henry, assuming he's playing your right tackle spot. Yeah, absolutely. Again, you need those guys to be huge, protecting the edges, because edge is obviously a big position in the SEC. And I think it also helps, too, when you have Dylan Stewart going up against you, in practice. Dylan Stewart, preseason all-SEC player. That's going to help them. And I think we'll see the development of Josiah Thompson and both, kind of the tackles, because, the edge rush and the front seven has been so good for South Carolina recently. Well, Auburn's got a lot of things going on right now in the Plains, but they've also randomly won 7 national championships. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is the Halftime Show presented by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. It's our head, Joe Machika, Captain Dave, on your Wednesday on the game.
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Joe Machika, Captain Dave hanging out with you on your Wednesday. We're brought to you by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Joe, when can you win national championships?
At the end of the year it's being played in.
Typically, like January, right? That's typically where the end of the season falls, especially now with the college ball playoff. You ever seen a team win a national championship in August?
No, not quite, Tyler.
You ever seen a team win 7 national championships in one day?
No, not quite, Tyler.
Well, now you have.
Yeah.
Because Auburn is now laying claim to an additional 7 new national championships, adding to their 2 they already recognized from 1957 and 2010, the BCS title with Cam Newton. They've added 1910, 1913, 1914, 1958, 1953, 1993, and 2004. So just overnight, they said, you know what? We want 7 more national championships, and, well, they're going to recognize that.
7 is a little ambitious for, August. A little ambitious, a little aggressive for August. And again, we talked about it on my show last night, but it's Auburn just kind of like, hey, like there's nothing going on the Plains, so let's just, do a little bit of research, say we claim these national championships and be done with it. Like, I don't know. I see claiming like 2 or 3,
sure,
like, oh, hey, we found this in the rubble and we did some research and great. But 7's a little aggressive.
Are you familiar with sleight of hand?
Yeah.
Where, you're paying attention to what's happening in this hand while the other hand's doing something over here. This is very much what I see out of this Auburn situation, because if you've been following the headlines, things not great on the Plains right now. Hugh Freeze facing a lot of pressure going into a year that's kind of make or break for him in a lot of ways. They've got like 4 different people calling plays, apparently. There's a guy for every down, from what it sounds like. He even said yesterday or 2 days ago, yeah, we might play all 3 quarterbacks between Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight, and Ashton Daniels, the Stanford transfer. So it doesn't sound like they know who their quarterback is. Like, things are messy right now. And this very much screams to me like, hey, do something to divert their attention. Let's just go claim some national championships. And look, they're not the first program to do this, but to claim 7 in one day, that's a little ambitious.
A little ambitious, a little aggressive. It screams to me that Hugh Freeze is still playing golf. Like earlier in the summer, like when we were talking, and hey, it might be a problem. He's not recruiting as much. He might be playing too much golf. Well, and the fact that he doesn't know what quarterback he's going to play yet, and then just leading up to the season, it's still kind of a mess. Yeah, Tyler, I think it's a little diversion, little sleight of hand, little bit of magic going on there in the Plains.
I think about this if I was a fan of the Auburn Tigers, where, again, you had a very legitimate national championship 15 years ago with Cam Newton that everybody remembers, and if you want to brag about that season, go right ahead. But if you come at me and say, hell, I'm a 9-time national champion Auburn Tigers, you're like, no, you're not.
No.
Because, again, it's something that you just came across. You just have started to recognize that nobody's going to take seriously. If anything, I feel like it's something that you quietly incorporate into your media guides, into your history, that doesn't happen all at once. And then when people look like, hey, wait a minute, you have 9 national championships now, but it's not a headline as much as it would be when you make this statement and announce, hey, by the way, we looked and we've won 7 more national championships than we originally claimed.
Right. Again, making the whole statement, again, makes it seem like you are diverting the attention. Had they just put the banners up and been like, okay, hey, we recognize these, or, if somebody goes in the stadium, it's like, oh, Auburn recognize this, and then they get to be like, yep, look, we're humble, we're not talking about it, but, we did some research in the offseason. But no, to make a big show out of it, like you're saying, yeah, you're hiding something, man.
And I have the biggest problem with the titles that were recognized before 1936.
Right.
1936 is when the AP poll was introduced, which for the next basically 60 years, that's how most national champs were decided, is who's number 1 in the AP poll, at least for consensus national champions. Before that, you just had a wild west of random polls, random things that didn't really have any uniformity to them. So I really don't respect any national champion before 1936. So to claim 3 of those in 1910, 1913, 1914, now you're just being ridiculous.
Right. Again, it's just adding to the other, national titles that you were claiming, and just it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm sure they were just sitting back and like, how many can we actually make this?
Sure.
Like, if we're gonna go deep, we might as well go super, deep into the record books. So. Might as well just claim all 7, I guess, and get it over with. And I know, like, down the road, too, like, in about a decade, maybe 2 from now, we're going to recognize those national championships because we'll just get so used to seeing the number.
And again, it's a media circus right now because it's new, and you're by the way, you would have been much better off doing this during the football season.
Yes.
Right? Do this after the first game when everybody's talking about other things happening, like, oh, by the way, we're 7 more national championships. It's a headline for 5 minutes, and then we move on to the next thing. Doing it right now, where we're still in like the quieter period of camp before games started, bad timing. Terrible
Sounds
timing.
like the PR department jumped the gun a little. Like they've had this, you know, in the arsenal for a little bit, and it's like, oh my gosh, we can't wait to put it out. Oh my goodness, and then it's like, you know what? Hey, nobody's talking about anything. Let's just do it. Now it's certainly backfiring.
I will say this: Alabama fans don't have as much room to talk as they think, because this brings them up to the half of the number of Alabama national championships as they claim 18. However, a lot of their national championships are not quite as legitimate as they would seem. And funny enough, back in 1984, Alabama's SID, while going through a scrapbook in an attic, determined overnight that they were going to have 5 more national championships, where they went from 6 under Bear Bryant to 11 overnight that nobody really noticed until they won the one with Gene Stallings back in the 90s. And they were like, hey, we were 12-time national champions now. People are like, wait, 12? Where'd y'all get that from? They're like, oh, well, we decided that like 7-8 years ago, and people just kind of ran with it. But like, you know, for Alabama fans, it is a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black if you're laughing at them for this, because they did the exact same thing.
Yeah, and again, Tyler, it boils down to a point we make a lot on these shows, and then this show it just means more. It really does.
It does. And again, Auburn's not the first program to do this.
Right.
I mean, Oklahoma State claimed these a couple years ago. There's another team in the past handful of years that I remember seeing the headline like, oh, we went back and looked and we actually won the 1945 national championship. Okay, whatever. But nobody's done it on this high of a scale in one fell swoop, which makes it all that more laughable. And again, nobody outside the bubble of Auburn's going to respect this, right? You can't come to an argument saying, well, our school's 9-time national champions. Okay, why did it take you 100+ years to recognize some of these? If they were really legit, you would have claimed them back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. And again, I'm with you. I think it's by them doing it in August kind of adds that UCF 2017 feel to it. Like, it'll be like, like, are they really, do they have, like, and sure, like, you might credit the ones after 19. Like, I'm going to be like take 2-3 off the top, do a little bit of quick math and be like, all right, but it's still going to feel like the 2017 UCF. If they had just claimed them in the middle of the season, we'd be like, all right, and like, we'll take your word for it.
If I'm an Auburn fan, I don't feel better about where the program is right now.
Right.
Right? It's very much like midlife crisis, right? You know, 50-year-old man, things are going wrong. Well, he goes out and buys a Corvette and dyes his hair black. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's what this screams to me.
You're clinging on to any little bit of hope. Like, you're talking like Deuce Knight want Cam Newton's number to bring back the 2010s, and Cam Newton, you know, obviously saying no, which he should. But you're clinging on to that kind of hope and then praying to the Lord that Hugh Freeze isn't playing golf still.
If Auburn goes out and loses to Baylor a week from tomorrow, oh man. And the golf thing for Hugh Freeze is another headline that's been happening this offseason.
It's crazy.
I can't imagine what the firestorm for that's going to be from the Auburn faithful and everybody now that we're all paying attention to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of saw this coming as soon as they hired Hugh Freeze. I was like, are you really going this way? We're going to be talking about him losing his job in a couple years, but all right, that's Auburn, I guess. You got to take your lumps with coaches before you realize, you know, hey, we got to hire a good one that we can keep here for a little bit and, you know, capture some kind of magic. I guess it's the rotation that they've got to go through. But I don't know, Tyler, to me, it seems like he's on his way out.
And, you know, I get it. He was this innovative mind a decade ago and beat Alabama twice and didn't do a ton with those 2 seasons in retrospect when it was all said and done. And really, since he left Ole Miss, or was forced to leave Ole Miss, went back to Liberty, had the 1-10-win season, but everything else has been kind of mediocre. 3 8-win seasons at Liberty, 6-7 first year at Auburn, 5-7 last year. Like, there's nothing remarkable, and I don't look at this and say, wow, they're going to make this big leap and be a 9-10 win team. And hey, if they do, I'll happily admit that I'm wrong when the season's over. I don't see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a tweet that said Auburn hasn't won 10 games in 8 years, but won 7 national championships in one day. It sums it up.
It's a very Auburn thing.
Right, very, very Auburn. And again, it's this them kind of, I guess, claiming relevancy or something, and you do it in the middle or at the end of August. Like, it's so Auburn.
What's the most ridiculous national championship claim, though, in the history of college football? I have a couple candidates that I want to debate coming up on the other side as the halftime show presented by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina rolls on your Wednesday here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show presented by the Men's Clinic for South Carolina. Tyler Head, Joe Machika, Captain Dave along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. Alan weighs in on Twitter and says, it won't happen, but if Auburn wins the national championship this year with 3 different quarterbacks, does it count 3 times? Would that get them up to 12 and close the gap on Alabama more?
Using Auburn's logic, I think so, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, possible.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
No.
I feel pretty confident saying it's not going to happen, but sure, why not?
Yeah. Might as well. And, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Auburn and Hugh Freeze, except I will. It's pretty hard to win a national championship with 3 quarterbacks.
They're also retiring Cam Newton's jersey this year.
Clinging to life, I guess, clinging to relevancy.
Maybe trying to get some of that magic to rub off on them.
Right.
For the Georgia game this year coming up in early October. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in what's happening on the Plains. And to me, because remember, Jackson Arnold was 5-star, right? He was supposed to set the world on fire at Oklahoma. And look, he didn't have great help around him. The offensive line was bad. His receivers were hurt. And he even said, hey, that was on me, but I don't put that on him necessarily. But the fact that he's not taking the job by the reins so far at Auburn is concerning, right? I'm like,
definitely.
I figured you would kind of had this locked up by now, especially considering, Deuce Knight behind you's got no experience up to this point.
Yeah. I mean, like, the logical quarterback tree or the logical quarterback depth chart, like at Auburn, should have worked itself out already, right? Like, Arnold should have been one, and then you hopefully have him, bring on Deuce Knight and have him ready to be, the star that they expect him to be. They were able to flip him from a Notre Dame commitment, and, we're able to get him there on the Plains. Now, the question is can you develop him, or is he going to have to get thrown into the fire and then have to deal with his athleticism and just, hope to make plays to kind of scramble and get some wins here? It's going to be interesting.
So while we're talking about these national championship claims, I've gone back and looked at some of the most interesting claims for national championships, and we have to determine which ones are the worst. So 1957, which was one of the years that Auburn already claimed, that along with 2010, prior to having 7 overnight, yesterday, they claimed the 1957 national championship, but they were under probation at that point in time for, funny enough, paying players. They had been assessed a postseason ban before the season even started. But in retrospect, still try and claim that as a title year. And for me, I'm like, if you already know going in, you're not eligible for the postseason, I don't think you should be able to claim a national championship because of that.
No, and that's why the rules are in place, right, Tyler? Yeah. It's for you to not go back and claim it. It's like, does it, like, there is no statute of limitations in college football.
Because here's the thing, like, then if by this logic, why doesn't Ohio State claim the 2012 national championship?
Right.
Because they went undefeated. They were on probation and couldn't go to the postseason because of Tattoo Gate.
Right.
But, like, they still won every game that they played, so why can't they go back and claim that? You know why? Because Ohio State's capable of actually winning a national championship right now, and they don't need to do silly things like this. But Auburn isn't. Right. So they're like, well, we got to claim whatever we can get. But, again, when you have a championship where you knew going in you were under probation, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, and I'm willing to say that Ohio State team was probably one of the best in college football ever. Like, I mean, it's up there. It's up there to be argued. And I mean, currently, like, I wouldn't say that any of these Auburn teams that they're claiming national championships from are up on that same league. And clinging to relevancy is Auburn.
And I believe 1958, one of the years they just claimed yesterday, I believe they're also under probation there because they went 9-0-1 and have no bowl game listed. So I think 2 of these national championships are claimed under probation.
I don't know, like, if they were using ChatGPT or something to find these national title qualifications, but something must have gotten through the search criteria or something. Like, I don't know. You can't really do that.
How about 2017 UCF? Scott Frost there. Team goes undefeated, wins the AAC, wins the Peach Bowl over Auburn, who had beaten both Georgia and Alabama when they were both number 1. Those teams would go on to play for the national championship. Alabama would win that game, obviously, in overtime. And UCF, by the transitive property, claims a national championship because they didn't lose, and they beat the team that beat the other 2 teams that played for the national championship. This is one of the rare exceptions of something like this happening in recent memory, and I think we all got a good laugh out of it. But UCF took this seriously.
I was going to say, this was fun, when it happened. And it's like, oh, yeah, definitely, deserving of it, whatever. Like, it's cool to have, a fresh face like UCF on the national stage, the big stage in college football. And, then they took it seriously and just kept going with it, rolling with the punches that they were national champions. It's like, oh, Like, we didn't realize you guys were going to do that.
They had a freaking parade. Like, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, unless you're, the whole country recognizes it and all in unison, like, you're going to look a little weird, parading it around and claiming that national championship like they did.
And I think what made it worse is when Scott Frost went to Nebraska right after that, and he did stay and coach the Peach Bowl, but he started downplaying the national championship thing. And he basically, in a way, said, like, yeah, maybe we're a little silly to do that. So when your own coach starts discrediting you immediately after the fact, I can't hold your title in too high of a regard.
Right, exactly. And, it coming in the modern era where, takes are readily available and anyone can kind of comment on it, this one got washed down pretty quickly, I would think. Like, it got annoying fast.
Well, perhaps the most ridiculous national title claim goes to the 1941 Alabama team. And with some assistance on how that happened, cut number 28, Dave, Alex Kirshner of the Split Zone Duo podcast explains.
The Tide claim 18 national championships, and that one of them is this 1941 season in which they finished 20th in the AP poll. The Tide decided that they could do this because from 1927 to 1958, something called the Houlgate system existed. Deke Houlgate, he developed his own strength of schedule system. Every team started the season with a letter grade of A, and then lost a grade for each loss, going down to an H. And somehow this was supposed to create some kind of measurement of the national champion. And this Houlgate system said that the Alabama team was the number one team in college football, even though human beings said they were 20th. So apologies to Minnesota, which went 8-0 with wins over number 3 Michigan and number 9 Northwestern, and was voted number 1 in the AP poll. But Minnesota does not get to be a unanimous national champ for 1941 because Alabama has this ridiculous out-of-nowhere claim.
9-2. 2 losses that year to Mississippi State and Vanderbilt by a combined score of 21-0. However, because Deke Houlgate gave them this weird letter rating, they claim a national championship because of that. And by the way, that was one of the ones that their SID found in the attic in 1984 that he grouped in with the 5 that they found overnight then.
That's why I'm glad we have the college football playoff. Tyler, they're no long over are the days of, like this guy says, you played a good enough schedule and these measurements, kind of makes sense. They line up with logic. Yeah, let's give it to you. Like long over are those days. And so, again, now it's just about, going back and trying to find as many as you can, I guess, as many different rating systems as you can and try to apply them.
And by the way, this kind of stuff is right up my alley because I love examining the bizarreness of college football. It's the most beautifully broken sport that's ever existed. Because, again, really until 1998, we did not have formal championship games every single year. Even during, like, the Bowl Alliance and the Bowl Coalition, the Rose Bowl, because it's the Rose Bowl, was difficult, and sometimes you wouldn't get one of the top 2 teams because they were in the Big Ten or the, or the Pac-12. Really only, basically in our lifetimes, have we actually started having a good, legitimate, undeniable national champion every single year. When you talk about the fact that college football has been around for over 150 years, that basically 120 years of that history, we couldn't decide on national champions more often than not, is crazy to me.
Absolutely bonkers, Tyler. I'm with you. It's what makes the sport so beautiful, too. It's the madness of college football and the fact that there was at once weird criteria based on statistics and, hey, this makes the most sense. Cool. National champion is what adds to the weirdness of it all.
At least with the AP poll, there was a recognized poll that kind of stood above the others.
Right.
Which, again, I will give you no credit for any national championship claim before 1936 because the AP poll didn't exist, and we were just throwing whatever at the wall to see what stuck when it came to claiming national champions. And, by the way, Auburn claimed 3 of those yesterday. So, yeah, it's college football's so weird, man. We love it, but it's the weirdest sport.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, growing up in South Bend, I was kind of, the titles, before, 1938, you hear about the 4 Horsemen and all that, but like, are they really playing football? Like, the game's changed so much too, where it's differentiated.
My thing too, and this was, pre-TV, pre-radio when it came to the sport, you can't tell me that somebody sitting in Los Angeles, California, writing about the 1920 Southern Cal team, had any real idea of what Alabama or Miami or Ohio State or any of these other teams were actually doing to be able to legitimately vote on who the best team in the country was.
Right. Yeah, most definitely, Tyler. And again, we've seen the advancements, travel, TV, all of that. It's all readily available now. So there's, less doubt, and we have a better system too. But there are some questionable titles back in the day, and the criteria now, thankfully, we've got a better one.
We'll wrap up the hour, or wrap up the day coming up next with scouting ourselves as athletes, because Coach Beamer did that yesterday at his press conference. That's coming up next. Halftime show presented by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Tyler Head, Joe Manchica, Captain Dave here on your Wednesday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Halftime Show presented by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Tyler Head and Joe Manchica hanging out with you for a couple more minutes before we turn things over to Jay and Terry for today's edition of the post-game show. We've had a lot of things that Coach Beamer said yesterday at his weekly press conference, but I wanted to hit this as well. Of course, Virginia Tech game, week number 1, 11 days away. Of course, Coach Beamer playing for his dad, a member of the Hokies back in the late 90s, where he primarily played long snapper, namely during that 1999 season where they played for the national championship. Cut number 10, Dave. Yesterday, Coach Beamer was asked to give an honest scouting report on himself as a long snapper with the Hokies.
I think I did. Yeah, you've done your research as well. Scouting report on me. I was a guy when I was snapping that I was good in coverage, and that I'm not fast by any stretch of the imagination, but I could snap, protect a little bit, and then at least get downfield and force a fair catch. So I don't know if I was in on many tackles in my career. 10? Was I really? Nice. Well, I was then, exactly. So that was me. I always just kind of had a knack for being able to snap, and that was a way for me to get on the field. My dad told me that back when I was in 8th grade, that I was a receiver, quarterback, defensive back growing up, and my dad kind of had the talk with me in 8th grade that, look, Shane, if you want to play at a high level, I'm not sure it's going to be as a quarterback or wide receiver at a high level. You can keep working at it, but there's a way for you to get on the field, and you're pretty good at snapping. You want to keep that up. So that's how I got on the field. And as a scouting report, athletic enough, decent as a snapper, but could get downfield in coverage and at least force some fair catches and get in on 10 tackles as well. So before I started snapping, I covered some kickoffs as well. So I was proud of that. There's some pretty good tape of that back in the 96 season also.
I appreciate
Thank you for asking. That's awesome.
I appreciate the honesty, and shout out to Frank. Be like, listen, son, if you want a future in this, you might want to look at long snapping. And it worked out. Again, got to play for a national championship team, and obviously that springboarded him in his coaching career. But my question is, and you can pick whatever sport you want, what's an honest scouting report of yourself in your younger days playing whatever sport?
I'm gonna go the football route because it resonates more. I grew up playing football, basketball, lacrosse growing up, but lacrosse is not as big down here, so I'm gonna go the football route. Not smart enough to play linebacker, but big enough to play there. They threw me as kind of like a stand-up 6, kind of 3-point stance off the edge, and just get as far out on the tackles, outside as you can, and go chase the quarterback. Offensively, I played tight end, really slow, sort of had hands. They gave me some run at fullback before, concussions got in the way and all that, and they knocked me down to just lacrosse. But yeah, I don't know. Didn't nearly have the feed or the drive or anything like that to go Division I or play Division I anything really.
I was gonna say, did you have that moment where you realized like, I probably don't have a money-making future in this sport?
Yeah, when I couldn't come close to snapping a 5-second 40 time, I'm like, okay, like it's probably gonna be sports media for you there, big boy. Even though I have some kind of Midwestern size, 6 foot, not the smallest kid in the world, but no speed whatsoever. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'll go baseball for this one. I was never the best athlete on the team by any means. I had a pretty good glove in the outfield. I would say my base running when I got to high school, I don't know what happened, but I think I started overthinking it too much, and I struggled on the base paths. And I go back now, even to this day, and I think about situations I was in. I'm like, why did I do that? That was so stupid. I should have done this, should have done that. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me when I got to high school, but I started to struggle to hit balls with movement.
Yeah.
Like fastball down the lane, okay, fine. But when they start moving around on you, that's where I started to struggle. And I went up against one of our varsity pitchers as a true freshman in a scrimmage game or whatever. I didn't see the ball go by me. He threw it that fast. And then I was like, don't know if I'm going to be able to catch up to this one. And that was about all she wrote for my baseball career, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough, I guess, to be into lacrosse before, I got to that point in baseball. But, I can remember playing the prep schools whenever we would, go travel, play one of those prep schools and get our teeth kicked in, playing lacrosse. So certainly a wake-up call when the whole team across from me is going Division I to Denver and Duke and Maryland and all the powerhouses, I
was a pretty solid wrestler. I was never the strongest. I relied a lot on technique. And if I got you on the mat, like, that's my playground. I'm gonna have an advantage there, but power slam, standing up, that kind of stuff, that wasn't that wasn't my thing. I tried to get you on the mat as quick as possible.
Was that your favorite sport to play?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was definitely the better wrestler than I was a baseball player towards the end of my athletic career there. But yeah, that would be. And I was decent. My last year wrestling, I was about 500. So left a lot to be desired, certainly. But I wasn't terrible. I wasn't terrible at either sport.
Yeah, I mean, oddly enough, I really wish I could be good at basketball. Growing up in Indiana, high school basketball was insane. Like, you'd sell out gyms on Tuesday nights. So if I could pick any sport to be the best at, basketball for me.
I couldn't shoot to save my life. Right. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's my coordination, but I couldn't get shots to fall.
Not much of a shooter myself, but driving in the lane, and I enjoyed the smack talking too. It's the best.
Yeah. Well, Joe, appreciate you hanging out, man. Thanks for helping us fill out the day.
Yeah, Tyler, thanks for having me in a little early this week. But love the little change of scenery. It's always good to hang out with you guys. Thanks for having me.
He's Joe Machika, Captain Dave on the other side of the glass. This is the Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Post-game show with Jay and Terry coming up next here on The Game. One sec. It's all right here for our friends over at Pro Swing Columbia. I've been telling you about it for the past couple weeks, but I'll remind you once again, they have those really cool golf zone simulators where you can quite literally play on just about any course in the world and improve on your golf game. You can rent them by the hour, and they have memberships available as well. If you're looking to just improve on your game a little bit, though, they do have a free 30-minute swing evaluation where they'll give you a blueprint of your swing with a couple pointers and drills to work on as well. They also use the on-form coaching app during all swing evaluations and lessons where you can get a before and after video of your swing as well as some drills to work on particular aspects of your swing. You can get discounted rates to practice and play at Pro Swing if you're actively taking lessons as well. They have club fittings and are also a tailor-made dealer. For more information, you can call 803-592-3916 and book online at ProSwingColumbia.com.